Good day. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here on Women's TV, and I'm particularly excited because I have Carol Gordon, CEO of Unspoken Treasures. And she's going to be telling us the details of how she became a collector. Now, I was born and raised in Arkansas, so when I saw her work and when I saw the depth of it, when I saw all of the things that she had done, and I saw that it's a family tradition that's been going on in her family for 40 years. They have been collecting the treasures from American history. And Carol, could you tell us at Women's TV how you became interested in these fabulous collections? How did you get started?
First of all, my uncle admired my work ethics. I worked 3 jobs, 2 jobs, and he gave me a couple of pieces and told me to start collecting anything I saw. With that, rather than go to the movies or something costly with my children, I would go to antique shows, garage sales, auctions, and my kids learned and saw history actually right before their eyes. I started collecting many pieces, and every time I brought something home, I would tell them about the history of it. So what I was doing was giving voices to my ancestors. And they became so interested in it. Every time they saw something, they were learning history indirectly. So with that, that's how I got started.
When I first met you, thank you for that information. When I first met you, your daughter was with you.
Yes.
And she, like you, was very excited about the artifacts, about the progress that you've made, and about the interest of other people in your projects. You told me that you have an upcoming interview with the New York Times, and you've told me so many things that you have done. We want to actually get into the details of some of your pieces. We have here, why don't you start here, Carol, and tell us what this represents.
Well, the reason why I bought this is you probably see this with the kids in the bottom of the boat. And this is the slave ship Wildfire from the 1800s. The ship brought these about 600 kids over between the ages of 13 through 16.
Wow.
Out of that, 90 of them perished, but they got here. But as you can see, all the kids are all packed in. The girls are up here, and here's some of the parents feeding the younger kids.
Wow. So they brought little children. And what is the building on the bottom?
That's one of the places where they kept the slaves, the Maroons, where they keep the slaves in their side when they brought them over here. So that's what they have there.
That is very interesting that this, and they brought them to America.
Yes.
So this is actually American history
yes.
that you're sharing with us.
Right.
That is real.
Right. Everything that I collect is African when they hit United States soil. So everything I collect is once they hit the soil here, from then on up until present. That's what I collect.
Wow, that is exciting. And how old did you say the children were?
Between the ages of 13 through 15. 16,
so they
depending.
Went out to Africa and collected these children,
approximately
these
600
babies,
of them, yes.
And put them in a boat and brought them to America, and most of them perished.
90 of them perished, according to the article, yes.
90.
And the slave ship Wildfire.
Slave ship
Wildfire. Yes.
Well, is there anything else you can tell us about this one, or would you like to
I'll go to
the
another
next?
one, because I can go in depth. I can be here all day.
Okay, go to the next one. Now, this one looks like a family. Is this a family?
These are free slaves. This is around 1864, and as you can see, these are free slaves. You can see they're all different shades, all different colors. The reason why I have this particular article is this particular slave here, his master branded his initials in his forehead.
Oh my goodness.
Most of the time when they come over in the boats, they're either branded on their arms, their legs, their backs, whoever purchased them on the boat, so they wouldn't get them all mixed up in the boat. And then once you go to another plantation, you're branded again. So I have here branding iron, like from the 1800s, and you can see this particular master branded 4 of his biggest slaves with his initials in their forehead. So they walk through the town with their initials in the forehead there. And here's like a branding iron here.
Wow, can I touch this?
And the brand that I was stuck in
Wow.
coals. Sometimes it had a wooden handle. That one I presume would have a wooden handle. It would be red hot, and they didn't put any medications or anything on it. They just branded you, and that was it. It's almost like tattooing nowadays. That's what I
Wow,
would say
but
with children.
tattooing is
Yes.
almost, it reminds me of branding animals on your
Yes.
farm. And it bothers me that human beings can be treated like animals. A couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to listen to Maya Angelou, and she said that we think there are different levels of people, and that's okay. But she says no one has any more humanity than another.
That's
In
right.
other words, no matter what you have, you can be a millionaire or gazillionaire. You don't have any more humanity
than anybody
I
else.
have.
We're all
And I
equal.
love that. Yes, we're all
equal.
equal in terms of our humanity. And I was particularly drawn to this one because I'm thinking, how could any human think of putting a hot iron to the forehead of another human being?
Right.
So this really got my attention, and you pointed out that the children, and they're all different colors. Some are a light complexion, some are
Yes.
dark complexion. What does that have any significance?
Probably because they were mixed up with their masters, generations, different breeds, different relationships.
So the master might have a relationship with a slave woman.
Yes.
And then that master's children would come out looking white or off-white.
Yes.
But he would still brand them anyway?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
They
my
were property.
goodness.
They weren't treated as if they were his children. They were property, something to benefit the farm, the plantation, or whatever.
In other words, this man went to bed with his property,
Yes,
bore a child
Yes.
who became his property.
yes.
Wow. That
I have slave last will and testaments where they would say, all my mulatto children, if I should pass, could be passed on to generation, but some of them will still be enslaved.
wow, and some would be set free.
Yes, and some would be set free, depending on which type of last will and testament that I have.
Now I noticed you have the artifacts. Now are those for keeping the slaves in chains?
Bound, right, enslaved. This is a middle passage shackle
Middle
from
passage.
1700s. This piece would come off. It would slide off like that. Either your wrist would go through it or your ankles. And when they're put on the boats, you can see they're all tucked in like sardines almost. So this would keep them so they would not run away or go anywhere. I have some smaller ones, but most of the time they said children was put with leather straps or wire or something like that, because if the children were separated from their parents, they have a tendency to cry. But if they stayed with their parents, they didn't have a tendency to tie them up or anything like that.
Oh, I see. I can't wait for your book to come out. I'm
I've
like
been in
on
the book.
pins and needles,
Yes,
just
yes.
waiting to see, because I know these are just a few of your artifacts.
It's
I know
nothing,
if
just
we
an
had brought
eyelash.
everything, and you also was willing to share with me that your home
Yes.
is full of it, and you have tours where children come from the schools
Yes.
and the universities, and they
Right.
come to your home to see this 40-year collection
Right.
that you've put together.
Or I go to the schools also, yes. With
You
a
go to the
traveling
schools?
museum, yes.
What schools have you gone to so far?
Oh, so many of them. I've been to Amityville, Wyandanch, Roosevelt, Uniondale, so
Uniondale.
different ones like that, yes.
And what kind of reception
Our
do
Lady
you
of
have?
Lourdes, I've been to Catholic schools, organizations, yes.
And you said you've been to Jewish.
Yes.
Well, what kind of reception? Are the children shocked to see that their ancestors, or are they familiar with the history?
No, a lot of the youth nowadays don't know too much of the history. What I speak about it, I'm saying it's not just put to African American history, but there was slavery or people who was enslaved all around the world. You have every culture who has a bad plight to their existence. You have the Jewish with the Holocaust. You have the Irish with the potato famine. You have the Native American Indians with the land. So everybody has a blight, or I guess a dark cloud in their history. So something that's very tender and something that really makes you feel bad.
When I went off to college at the age of, I guess, in my late 20s, one of the first papers that I wrote, I entitled it Man's Inhumanity to Man. And that has stuck with me, how we can treat each other poorly, so very poorly,
Right.
and be all right with it.
That's right.
So what I'm seeing here is generations of treating people poorly because of the complexion of their skins. That seems to me as a man's inhumanity to mankind. Where do you see that that this is going? Do you see that it's changing, that we're becoming more humane as a people? Or do you see that we're still have some work to do?
We still have lots of work to do. I mean, even if you look at the census, when you do the gerrymandering and stuff like that, to keep certain people in certain areas, certain towns. So I think we still have a lot of work to do, a lot of work.
That's interesting. That's interesting. In other words, we've come a long way, baby.
Right, but not
we
long
still
enough.
have a ways to go.
Yes.
So tell me about the next.
This here is a newspaper article from the Harper's Weekly from 1850s. It's a slave auction block. As you can see, the woman slave up in the top. And down here is 1846 is the slave bill of receipt sale for a Negro man named Garner. And
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. And so it's sort of like buying something from Macy's.
Yes.
You get a bill of sale, and did you have to pay taxes on it, or?
some of them had taxes, some of them did not. So you had to, once you purchased the person, you kept the bill, receipt, and he became your property.
Wow.
That's it.
And the next.
This is a slave called Gordon. You've probably seen his picture around. As you can see, he was whipped so many times he formed keloids. But as time went on, he finally ran away. He put onion in his pocket, rubbed it all over his clothes. Here you can see he's a homeless man, and here he later joined the army. So I'm quite sure lots of people seen this picture.
Do you mean to tell me that he joined the Army
Yes.
of the United States of America
Yes.
after being enslaved for
Yes.
so long and treated so poorly?
Yes.
He joined. Wow.
Yes.
What
His duty to the country.
an excellent display of content of character.
Yes.
Oh,
No
boy.
matter what, we still do what we have to do to serve our country.
That's true. Well, I see that we have a few other things that you want to talk about. You can bring up the ones that you want to talk about. I see you still have other shackles and items that will be very interesting to our audience.
These
Now,
are
what is
crab-shaped runaway shackles. As you could see, the slightest noise, they would put these on your arms, your wrists, and some of them I have big enough that they torch it open and put it on your neck.
Oh,
And the slightest noise that you make, the dogs would hear it in the woods if you're up in a tree. They said after a while, the people that was enslaved became so smart, not that we were smart, they would pack it with mud.
I think we were smart.
Yes.
So they would pack them with mud so you couldn't hear them.
Yeah, so they stopped making this particular kind. They have some with the collar with spikes sticking out of it, so if they run away with bells. So there's all different styles, all different types. This here is a
Wow.
slave collar. As you could see, it would go on the neck. Sometimes a chain would be pulling the person, or a chain down to his ankles, to his wrists. And you could see the blacksmith, since we did all the work of blacksmith, carpentry, and stuff like that, he did a design, I guess something from his homeland. I guess you could see the design there, the African print there.
Wow. This is so interesting. This is so interesting. And now, what about this doll?
This is just a topsy-turvy doll. I just wanted to let people, if they want to start collecting, they can start collecting anything. This is a particular doll, as you could see. And they said, I have different stories, since most of our history is told by word of mouth, that if the person was playing with the black doll, and if the master came along, they would turn it and put it the other way, and it would be the white doll.
So there's where you get the name topsy-turvy.
Turvy, yes.
Because we were supposed to play with white dolls?
Yes, yes.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. My goodness.
And like I said, there's so many different stories, so many different thoughts. Like our history is not written down, so we go by information that was passed to us from our grandparents, great-grandparents, down from generation to generation.
That's why I'm waiting for that book.
Yes.
And I know our audience is
working on
going to
it
want to
now.
go on that. Just give us your website address. Just repeat it for our audience.
It's unspokenhistorystreasures.com.
unspokenhistorystreasures.com.
Right.
And you can go directly to Carol's site, and it will also be posted on poneinspirations.com. Pone, P-O-N-E, inspirations with an S.com. And the information is on the screen now, so you'll be able to see it and to know and to follow up with Carol. And she is also available to help you start your own collection.
Yes.
Because you may have a piece that she may want, and you can do some bartering and exchanging.
Changing, right, that's
Now,
for sure.
Carol, you have some specific things about starting your own collection. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Should I bring the whole thing up?
I don't. Just one at a time.
Okay.
Carol will show you
I
one
just,
at a time.
if anybody
that
wanted to
things are
start
interesting.
collecting anything, right now, like you have the President Obama's comic books. You have a Spider-Man book with Michelle Obama and President Obama here, the First Lady.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, I would like to take this and send it to him.
A button, since the president just ran, you can collect his buttons. This is 2008. This is Shirley Chisholm button.
Well, I remember Shirley Chisholm from Brooklyn. She made such a wonderful contribution to the movement.
These are stamps. First day issue. This is first day issue stamp envelope. You can see it's Harry Tubman. This is Carter C. Woodson. And this is Jackie Robinson. So you can start collecting stamps.
Uh-huh.
And we have basketball cards.
Mm-hmm.
You have the president on here, basketball, Michael Jordan. You have baseball cards.
Wow.
We have money,
very
Confederate
good.
money, as you can see.
Confederate money.
Here's somebody picking cotton, and here's the steamship. Here's someone else here picking the cotton.
Mm-hmm.
We have 50-cent pieces. This is a the silver dollar here with Crispus Attic on it. And this is silver dollar with Jackie Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And here's another card, Jack Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
boxer.
Right.
And it came out
now,
of this-
I have something at home that says colored seat
Segregation
seated
signs.
in the rear.
Yes, segregation signs.
Tell us just a little bit about that as you wrap
That's about
up.
the 1950s when they were telling people you can't sit in the back. You were only allowed to sit certain places on areas, bus, restaurants, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Carol, it has been wonderful hearing about all this, and I know that you give shows and in the area, and there may be someone who's interested in hearing more about what you're doing.
Check
And
my
if
website.
that's the case, I want them to know, so they'll be able to go to the website.
Yes.
And let me just tell you a little personal story. Let me tell you a little story. I was born and raised in Arkansas at a time when segregation was real. And my grandfather was indeed a slave. And he wanted to send my father off to school. And so one day he got the nerve to take him out of the cotton fields and send him to the Baptist church where they were having classes and teaching young black children how to read and write. And so Mr. Phelps said to my grandfather William, "Where is Isaiah?" And so my grandfather said, "Isaiah is going to learn how to read and to write. He's over at the Baptist church, and he's not going to be a cotton picker. He's going to be a free man making his own way in the world." And so Mr. Phipps said to him, "Well, we have an in person who's going to not work in the fields. I've never heard of such a thing." So he says, "I would like to see Isaiah. Go down to the school and get Isaiah and bring him so I can see him. So my grandfather was excited because the man said it with such enthusiasm. And he says, wow, Mr. Phelps wants to see Isaiah. He's learning to read and write. So when Isaiah came, he said, Mr. Phelps, Isaiah is here. He's going to know how to read and write. And so Mr. Phelps changed his demeanor.
Right,
all of a sudden he says, Isaiah is going to learn how to read and write. He says, my children can't read and write. So he took out a cat of nine tails, which was a whip.
Yes.
And he began to whip my grandfather. And he beat him within an inch of his life, saying, all of the N-word people on my plantation will work on my crops, grow my fields, and do what I tell them to do.
Right.
This is a true story. And my father committed to learning how to read and write. So when he sent my sister off to college, he started to take reading and writing courses. And the proudest thing that he ever did was to sign his name, Isaiah William Nixon. And he did that with such pride. And we were also proud of him because he had worked for the United States Corps of Engineers, and he moved up through the ranks because he was such a hard worker. And the man at the Corps of Engineers elevated him because he was such a hard worker. So the story of my father learning to read as an adult is a story that I keep near and dear to my heart.
And I'm glad by you seeing this collection made you speak about it. So
yes, I'm happy. I'm happy to see all of this. I'm happy to know that things are going well and that there is progress being made. And I'm also kind of shamed that I haven't been free to talk about this before. Because I think the title Unspoken History is good, because it is a treasure that we hold in our hearts, and we don't speak about it because of the shame.
That's right. My kids came up with the name, so.
It's a wonderful name, and I can tell you stories. I could tell you stories about the scar that's on my neck that I received because in our town we only had one white doctor, medical doctor, and that doctor refused to see black people. Only one day a week he would see us, and that was Thursday. And I received this life-threatening burn on a Tuesday. And no, the doctor would not see me. But all of the things, my story is a mile in comparison to what you're showing me here and what has happened. So it's like I said before, we have come a long way, baby.
We still got a long
when
way.
my husband saw the school that I went to, it looked like a barn, pretty much like one of the pictures you see. And my husband said that, Gloria, you have come a long way, baby. He says, you come from the barn room to the board room, because I served as vice president of Chase Manhattan Bank, and occasionally I was invited to have breakfast or lunch with the president. And it is so amazing how much has happened, and it is so amazing that still there is so much to be done.
And so, I'm glad, like I said, by you seeing this collection, let you speak, and my ancestors are just as proud. So we need to hear the stories of how successful we have become, and we're going, and we're still going.
Right, and we keep on fighting the fight.
That's right.
And we keep on, and it's now so exciting sharing all of this,
This
even
is
the ingenuity of having a doll that became white when you were in the presence of white and black, in the presence of black. So it sort of shows the roles we play, that we had to play for our survival. Because if my father had been a different spirited person, then perhaps I would not be here. If my father was not a gentle-spirited, hard-working man, I don't know where I would be.
That's for sure.
And his thoughts and his ideas and his faith, all of those are the things that carried my sisters and my brothers and myself. There were 8 of us.
Right.
There were 8 of us, and we all grew up to be workers.
Right.
You know, I retired, but I work harder now than I've ever worked in
Before,
my life.
right, me
So
too,
perhaps
that's
I
for
have
sure.
that work angel, or is it a work demon? I
Yes,
don't
the
know.
work angel. If it wasn't for my uncle Thomas Bramble telling me to start collecting this history here, who knows where it would be. I can carry on, I could keep continuing it, I could talk for the ancestors, keep it going, and my kids know, my grandkids know, and now I have great-grandkids, and they'll
Wow,
also know.
you are a beautiful great-great-grandmother. You got it going on, girlfriend.
Yes, that's for sure.
Well, I'm going to hang
Yes,
around with you more
enjoying
often.
life.
Maybe I can get that jeans and that dimple working
Yes.
for myself.
Enjoying life, that's for sure.
That is awesome. When I first saw your work, I was so moved, and I knew that you had to become a part of women's television.
Thank you very much
I knew
for
that you
having me
had
on
to
here.
be here with us. I knew that you had to tell your story, because it is a story that needs to be repeated
Yes.
over and over and over again. Now, I am just one person, but women's TV is a movement.
Yes.
And I think about the general in Africa, West Africa, and he says that forward ever, backwards never.
Right.
So I see that we're moving forward at a great pace.
Thank you.
I'm glad for my sponsor, Dr. Darrell Pone. I'm glad for our guests.
Yes, and I
I'm glad
thank you
for
having me on here.
Sandy Lou. I'm glad for all of you who take the time to share, to take the time to help us. Women's TV is up, and away.
For sure.
Up, and away. So as we move forward, we invite you to be with us, to look for us on Time Warner Cable, to look for us on YouTube, and particularly the
website.
Women's TV YouTube channel. It is just filled with the interviews that we see. I am excited about being here, and I'm excited about all that we've done. Have a great day,
Thank
Women's TV.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on here. Thank you. My ancestors, thank you also.
Okay.